I know it now. I know it. I know the secret to a happy, healthy, and a wealthy life. I know you all are dopamine addicts, a pleasure seeking Homo sapiens. You all are. You consume alcohol, social media, tobacco, weed, porn, food like processed oils, sugars, refined carbs, and these all things are making you dopamine as well as insulin resistant. You don't meditate, you don't work out regularly, you're an addict basically. You seek your pleasure through food and all such items. Not doing the above things will easily take you to the peak of your own potential, and you know that. You probably know that. And you know you will achieve all the success you need when you do not do above things that I've just mentioned. Remember, insulin makes your body sick and dopamine makes your mind sick. And these two things are complementary to each other. Foods that spike your insulin and they give you certain amount of pleasure, and that's there you release some dopamine, and it has its counterproductive hormones that will make you feel bad eventually, and you get stuck into that vicious cycle of eating over and over again. And then there is the term insulin resistance that I've explained so many times. You all are insulin resistant. And then I've written, blessed are those people who are not addicts. By the way, you all are to one or the other thing. Just be dopamine and insulin sensitive in your life and things will automatically work out. So, this is coming from an experienced addict. See, the thing that doesn't work with addiction, especially when you're trying to quit, is start doing that addiction in moderation. Moderation doesn't work. Either you do it or not. Few months back, I discovered the biochemistry of fasting, and I am fascinated to see the mental and physical changes in myself. Although the context in which I learned fasting, I learned science of fasting was all basically related to food. But I keep the science of food aside for a moment. It basically proves that I had been consuming a lot of food and never gave my body time to rest or repair. So the fasting is basically the act of not doing, and that thing which has been imbalanced is going to automatically restore the balance. This applies to almost everything that you have been overdoing for pleasure, like porn, cigarettes, weed, alcohol, junk food, processed food, social media, sex, whatsoever. If you have been overdoing it, you will be addicted to it, right? And to get out of that addiction, what is the thing that you really need to do? By not doing it, fast on it. Okay, and that's the meaning, that's the actual meaning of fast. So basically you've been consuming a lot of food, and this food has made you addictive, it has made you more iller, it has brought your life expectancy down significantly, and you just need to leave these four things: polyunsaturated fats, which are vegetable seed oils, sugars in any form, refined carbs, and trans fats. It's on my tongue just like that all the time. You don't need to consume these things. I have a non-cooperation movement, my own non-cooperation movement against these four things. Next, I've written, if you overdo it, you will suffer. You gotta fast to restore the balance. Fasting will always require a lot of patience. If you are also stuck like me, fasting is even more important for you. Sometimes, if your mind gets tired or bored or seek pleasure, try to sit with your eyes closed and breathe in and out quickly and heavily for like 5 minutes, and you will receive your pleasure hit. But as I said, this is going to work sometimes, not always. Sometimes workout will also help. Basically, when mind is seeking pleasure, give it something discomforting. Initially, it'll be problematic, but eventually your mind will understand that now you are the master and you have won your senses. This is something called Indriyon ko jeetna in Hindi. Whenever you get excited, you release dopamine. If you just do not get excited about that part, you won't release so much dopamine. And that's why it is written in Gita, सभी स्थिति में समान रहने वाला ही सिद्ध पुरुष है, which in other words mean control your dopamine. Okay, and I'm going to talk a lot more about dopamine once I'm through this fasting, feasting, and insulin resistance topics, because there are a lot of other topics that I want to cover. There is neuromuscular science, that how by just breathing, by taking care of specific breathing techniques, you can cause hypertrophy, muscle mass gain. I was an addict since childhood, and if I recall it now, I used to have a lot of sugar every day, processed foods every day. And when I entered my teens, I got addicted to hot dogs and patties, made with white flour and in vegetable seed oils. Because of that, my entire childhood, I realize that now, my entire childhood was foggy and I had no clarity. My relationships were fucked up, and when I entered college life, I tasted beer. Then converted into alcohol, and then I started job. And when I started job, I started taking weed and alcohol. And now, when I see the bigger picture, I was just shifting my addiction from one source to another. And this is something I wanted to talk to you about. If your babies, if your small kids are on things like vegetable seed oils, sugars, they are addictive in nature, it's more likely to become a bigger addict when they grow up. They will shift their addiction to something, alcohol, weed, or whatnot. As per their financial status, they will do it because you have made them addicts in the childhood. I wish I knew that back then. My height is not that big, and I always felt bad about it. It had a very bad impact on my physiology, body structure, height, waistline, mental health, basically my whole fucking life. It can be anything. It can be food, it can be sugar, it can be alcohol, it can be weed. I've talked about a study which was done in Britain, and which tells you that when a group consuming alcohol was studied, a group consuming cocaine was studied, a group consuming sugar was studied, all of them had similar level of activation of dopamine in the brain. So what I'm trying to say is all of them are equally addictive. So how can you actually get rid of the addiction the way I did? First, realize that you are an addict. First, realize that you are in a rut and you have to get out of it. Second, execute. Get out of the rut by not doing that particular thing. Maintain, learn the art of enjoying that rutless state.